Hello guys, good morning. So today we are going to be doing supply and demand or demand and supply. Okay. So let's dive right in. This is my number in case you want to contact me. So let's dive right in. So this is demand. This is we're going to use BTC for supply, and then we're going to use another pair for demand because BTC is on a downtrend as we can see right here. It's on a downtrend. Okay. So let's start Let's start from here. So a supply zone, what is really a supply zone? A supply zone is just where price, example, sorry, is a zone whereby supply zone is just a zone whereby price makes a low, makes a lower high, and then breaks structure. Now we are going to expect price to come back inside of this zone, inside of between this lower high, and this lower low. Okay, when price breaks structure down, we need price to come back between inside of this high and this low. We need price to come back inside of this zone, okay, and then continue to go down, something making another lower low. Okay, so we need price to come inside of this zone, okay, and retest this zone. And then we need price to come back inside of this zone, okay, to push back down lower. Okay, so this is a supply zone. It is different from a supply zone. A supply zone is different from a resistance zone. Okay, a resistance zone is more like this. Resistance zone is more like um resistance zone is like this, whereby price retests an area continuously. Okay, they are similar, but they are not the same. This is a resistance zone. When price retests a zone continuously, it becomes a resistance zone, okay? And this low becomes a support zone. So, but when price retests an area and breaks structure, it's either considered a supply zone or a demand zone because a demand zone can also be like a support zone, but they are not the same, but they are similar. So it's good to know which is which because this one continues on a downtrend, okay? But this one is on a steady retest of an area. So it is just steady retesting an area, a resistant area or a support area. This one is on a trend, on a downward trend. That is for supply, this is for supply, and this is for resistant. Okay, that is good. We have cleared this already. Now let's go back to the chart. Let's go to the chart. Now, the raw fact, we have a we have a supply zone here. I just mark a high that broke structure, high that broke structure, highs that broke structure. We have a supply zone here. We have, of course, I'll consider this a supply zone. This is a supply zone. We have a supply zone here too. Now we have our last supply zone. Yeah, this is the last push up. So this is our supply zone. Now, as we can see, it is on a downtrend. Okay, so you can see right here, it is on a downward, it is on a downtrend. Now the trend has been broken. So it is either this zone push the price lower. It is either this zone push price lower into the downtrend, into the trend line, and continue to go lower. Or or it push the price down into the trend line and breaks the supply zone and continue to go higher. Because we can see that the trend line has been broken. So these are the two considerations to write down in order not to make mistakes. Okay, so we have our supply zone here. Okay, this is the last push up this bullish candlestick of that broke. We have the last bullish. This is the last bullish candlestick, but I'll take this as a change of character. Okay, the last low. Okay, and price make this high was taking. Okay, sorry. This is the last. No, this is a break of structure. This is a break of. Okay, this is the last high. Okay, this is the swing high, this is the swing low, and then price broke structure. Okay, I like swing. This is a 15 minutes. I use a 1 hour time frame to mark my swing high and swing low, but and a 15 minutes time frame, I use it for market entry normally. So, but let's use the 1 hour. I use 1 hour for demand and supply zone because it is more a higher time frame has more volatility or more structure, whereby where price is likely to push down or to push up. So, as you can see, we have our supply zone here. Okay, we have our value supply zone here. Okay, so but in the 15 minutes, it is more clear. What 1 hour, it looks like here is like an order block. Here is a valid supply zone. So this is just a simple explanation of supply and demand. Supply and demand. Now, market made this high, it broke this low. Okay, when the price pulled back up again, as you can see right here, price pulled back up here to price pulled back up here, price pulled back up here to fill this imbalance candlestick. This was the last high. And if I'm to enter the market entry, okay, when price is inside of this zone, where I'm likely to keep my entry because I normally use a stop order, a sell stop order entry for anytime price reach a supply zone. I will be keeping my entry at the last low. Okay, so just like when price move high at this first high and makes this low for the first time and it's pushing back up again. Of course, my will be entry is going to be placed beneath this bearish candlestick, be on the last low. Okay, then I need price to break this low for a continuation towards the downside. So that is where I want to keep my stop loss. Then can be keeping my stop loss above here, above this high, sorry, above this high, or above the supply zone, or the last high that made that low. And if price continues to go up, fine. I'll look for that place, keep myself stop. Or less price breaks through the supply zone, I will know that this supply zone is now invalid. It's no more a legit supply zone. So this is where I'm likely to keep sorry. This is where I'm likely to keep my entry. This is where I'm likely to keep my entry below of this below of this bearish candlestick. And then target 1 to 2 RR or 1 to 3 RR. Okay. Then if price now trigger me into the market, is alright. You can see how price moved straight down to TP. Okay, so it made this supply zone a valid supply zone. Okay, so it's very good. I like to use a much obvious supply zone, not just any small tiny supply zone like this, because some people are likely to use this zone as a supply zone. Well, you are okay with that, but I like to see how price react. If price is reacting in a supply zone, like reacting there with a low momentum. That's what I want to see in a supply zone. If buyers are weakening, that's what I want to see. There's a push down and then a retest. I'm keeping my sell stop order around here and wait for price to trigger me into the market. It is falling down. So that is it for supply. Let's look for another pair for demand. I think USD CHF is going bullish. So USD CHF, here we go. Beautiful, isn't it? It's on an uptrend. Okay, it just hit this supply zone here. I guess this is a daily supply zone or a 4 hour supply zone that I marked out. As you can see, this is a 4 hour supply zone. See price. This is the first supply zone. Okay, this supply zone is the mitigation kind of pattern. SMC, we call it a mitigation pattern whereby price make a high, a low, a higher high, and a lower low that broke structure here. So this is mitigation pattern, and then I mark this as supply zone, and price retested that supply zone for the since it went on a downtrend, and then these highs have been taken. This high was taken, price fell. This high was taken yesterday. Price tested this supply zone since um since since August. This is the first time price tested the supply zone since August, and as you can see, price fell. So, but I'm still going to wait for another retest inside of this zone, or wait for price to move inside this zone, and then we can now know if we are going to go for that short. So for now, this is a demand zone. So let's mark out our demand zone. We have a demand zone here. Sorry, this is a demand zone. This is a demand zone here. This is a demand zone. I like to color code my demand zones and supply zone. I give it a bluish color. This is a demand zone. As you can see, price tapped into the demand zone and broke structure above. We have a demand zone here. Okay, demand zone. But again, we have a demand zone here. So these are demand zones. So we have price come into the demand zone and target a high. So if we are going to be entering here, you can see it is like almost 1 to 2 RR, almost, if depending on where your stop loss is. So you can see it right now. So if I'm to enter this trade, I'll be entering a buy stop order around here. Okay, keeping my stop loss around here. This is a 1 to 2 RR. So this is it for supply and demand. I hope you understand. If you have any question, you ask. The demand zone is more like this, whereby price make a higher high, a retest inside the zone makes a higher high, okay? Then a retest inside the zone, a higher high. So there is a continuity in this trend line, okay? But if it is in a support area, we have the support we have a support being tested a couple of times until there is a breakout. So this is a support area, and this is a demand area. A demand zone works on a trend line. Support is just for a retest, a retest, and a retest. God bless you all. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next.